Restart recording. Here we go. And
I'm going to disappear while I finish my dinner, so I'm not recorded eating.
all right,
So
sounds good. Thanks, Bob.
I will be listening attentively, Kaylin.
Sounds good. All right, so again, welcome. Just our topic for this business seminar is work and home life balance for small business owners. As I said, this is part of our Chamber of Commerce Business Seminar Series. So it's co-presented by the library, the Newington Library, Lucy Robbins Wells Library, as well as the Chamber of Commerce. So if you're from Newington, obviously, hopefully you're familiar with our library, our wonderful resource. And from a business standpoint, it really is a great resource for business owners, entrepreneurs, or just wherever you are as far as your business goes. The library's mission is to provide information, education, and cultural enrichment. And these days, especially, the library has a great assortment of digital resources, so downloadable ebooks, etc. Even though the library is now reopening for some limited visits, there's plenty out there from a digital standpoint. This event is just one of many virtual events that the library holds each month, and Michelle will talk a little bit more about other events going on. And as I said, it's a great business resource and career resource. So there's plenty of reference things available there. If you're researching a job, if you're researching an industry, there's a lot of stuff on there just for educational standpoint as well too, to keep yourself up as a business owner. And please support the library through the friends of the library. They obviously have been affected this year, just like everyone else, from their book sales. So they haven't been able to do some of their major book sales. But with that, maybe let me segue to Michelle. Anything else you want to add about the library, Michelle?
Sure. Just that we are having some different book sales, but we are having them. We've had a bag of book sale where you can get children's books for $5. So we have board books, easy readers, young chapter books, teens. So if anybody's interested in a bag of books for $5, you get about $30 worth of books for $5. This weekend we had our mystery sale. You could fill a bag of books for $10 and put as many hardcover or paperback mysteries in there as you can fit. And this weekend coming up, we're going to be doing something with Deanna at Karma's Closet. She's having a vendor craft fair. It's this Saturday from 10 to 5. And we'll be there selling our books. And next week, we're going to be doing a Facebook Live with Deanna. She's been doing a great business, doing a Facebook Live with her items in her store. And she's going to be doing that for library books next week. So we're super excited about that. And that's about it, Ray. I think you covered a lot of it. Thank you.
Yep.
And you said that was Karma's Closet. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's Karma's Closet. It's on the Silas, on the Berlin.
Right by Munson's, right? In the Munson's?
Right.
Yes.
Munson's
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And as I said, also this seminar series is sponsored by the Newington Chamber of Commerce, of which I'm a member, and I'm a board member, and several other people on here are board members as well too. If you're not familiar with us, we're a volunteer organization of business people really working together, trying to strengthen and help all businesses within the local area. So it's a combination of helping people with economic ideas, helping out with advocacy. So some of the key things that we offer are giving people a local network of resources, business resources that we can collaborate on, giving people opportunities for community involvement, advocating for small businesses in government, promoting our businesses. So one key thing we've done, especially over the past year or so, and during COVID, this has been very successful, is doing a lot of social media marketing for our chamber members. And again, just doing things like this, sponsoring educational opportunities for our business members. So if you're thinking of joining a chamber or the Newington Chamber, certainly visit our website. You can see how to join. We have a membership page on there that's pretty easy to find. Also, the director of our chamber is on here. Pete, I don't know if you want to say a word or two.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain everyone here is chamber members, and thank you very much for that support. I just wanted to thank first Kaylin for doing this presentation tonight. I know that this is an opportunity of work-life balance that all of us, it impacts all of us. So I think it's a really great topic, and I thank her for for pursuing this. And also I wanted to thank Ray. Ray has done a nice job in positioning our business seminars and things that we think would add value to our organization and to our membership. It looks like we're going to have, a lot more virtual time over the next few months. So it's really important that we continue having this type of this online virtual type meetings. I think we've done very well back as far back as March and putting together our Zoom meetings, having our networking meetings. And I'm very pleased with this, with the membership of this chamber and how people are really still engaging. And I'm hoping that, that we're able to help support that as well. So thank you, Kaylin. Thank you, Ray. Looking forward to hearing tonight's topic.
Great. Thanks, Pete. And without further ado, our main presenter, Kaylin McBee. So Kaylin, I'm going to stop sharing and then feel free to grab presenter.
Okay, so I am screen sharing there. I just need to let that go up and then we're just going to go from the beginning. So everybody can see this, correct?
Yep.
Okay, great. So again, today's topic really is discussing a healthy work and home life balance, specifically for small business owners. But I think a lot of this information that we're going to discuss tonight is going to parallel, even if you are an employee. But I did sort of create this specifically for those of us who are small business owners. Just to echo what we talked about before, that there is a co-sponsorship for the business seminar series with the Newington Chamber as well as the Lucy Robbins Wells Library. So thank you both for allowing me to share some insight. For those who don't know me, most of you do, but for those who don't, I am Kaylin McBee. I am a board certified and licensed massage therapist and a Reiki master, and I'm the owner of Balance Massage and Wellness Center located on Day Street here in town. We are a multi-practitioner wellness center offering a whole myriad of modalities, including massage and Reiki and natural skincare and Zoom and in-person yoga classes, life coaching, athletic training, etc. So topics for discussion tonight, I thought we'd sort of roll through some ideas of what I wanted to talk about. And I really want to make this interactive. We have a pretty small group tonight. So if you have questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat. For those who don't know, the chat button is just on the bottom. You can type it in and then we can bring it up. You can also feel free to unmute yourself. So if there's a question or an input that you'd like to contribute that would be helpful for all of us to hear, or an example or an idea, I'm really open to that. So the four main points that I really wanted to discuss today were boundaries, time management, saying no to things, and self-care. So I really feel like there's a ton of discussion that we can have, but I wanted to narrow it to some palatable pieces that are manageable in the sense of how I look at boundaries and how I look at my health and wellness with my balance. So when we're talking about a boundary, I looked up the specific definition, and it's a limit of a subject or sphere of activity. So we're really looking at creating parameters or parentheses for work or family or self. And one of the benefits that we have as small business owners is that we get to create those boundaries. We get to draw those lines in the sand of how we want to run our business, of what that looks like, of choices and decisions that we make. Now, we're not an island. We certainly do have clients or patients or whoever you're working with that we have to support, but we always have those choices by setting those parameters or by setting those limits in order to create a healthy environment. So for me, the biggest part about boundaries is what I talk about in a reasonable way of managing expectations. And so what does that really mean? So if you, for example, if you are trying to speak with a client and maybe you're not quite as clear as what you're looking to get out of a particular meeting, or a time frame for an event, for example. We need to manage those expectations. You need to be clear and concise with the words that you're using. And those expectations are certainly for our clients as small business owners, but they're also managing those expectations for our families or for ourselves. So part of what I just mentioned was the communication piece that does surround those boundaries. So as you're having a conversation with, say you're having a conversation with your husband or your wife or a family member that you have, and you're really wishy-washy about what your expectations are. Perhaps that person is someone who has I'll call it a powerful personality maybe. And so they perhaps start to create expectations that are not in line with what your boundaries are. So say your friend's having a party and they say, of course, we're using examples that are sometimes COVID appropriate, sometimes aren't, but these are examples that can be in our life. So say you're friends having a party and you say, oh, hey, what can I bring? I'd love to contribute to the party. And they rattle off 8 things that you can bring. I'd love for you to bring wine, and I'd love for a dessert. And oh yeah, we need an appetizer. And can you also bring the plates and all the paper products? Well, that isn't really holding a clear and concise boundary. So you need to be able to be confident with the language that you're using and make sure that both parties understand. So communication really is key. So in that circumstance, if you're up for bringing 8 things, I say go for it. But most people aren't. Most people say, listen, that is going to really extend what I'm able to do. I don't have the time or the resources, or frankly, I don't really want to. I don't want to bring 6 things to the party. If I wanted to host the party, I'd have the party. So making sure that you come back to that person and say, listen, I'm so excited about this event. I have an appetizer recipe that's my favorite. I'd like to bring that. If you can ask someone else that's coming to the party to bring those other items, that would be terrific. Does that work for you? That's a clear, concise setting a boundary of what your expectation is, of what the other person's expectation is. So when we're talking about holding these boundaries, there's ways to do them in a healthy way. So I thought that I might give some examples of boundaries that small business owners may need to think about and look at on a daily basis. So the first example of the boundary that I thought was important was talking about our hours of business. And so I sort of look at this in a twofold way. One could be the hours of business that you're actually seeing clients or meeting with a broker or seeing patients. So that might be an in-person moment of those hours of business. But it also includes the hours of business that you're spending not with your clients. So when you're answering emails or answering phone calls. So when you're thinking about holding those boundaries in a healthy way, my business hours are 9:30 to 6 from Monday through Friday. That's an example of my business hours. So when we've created these boundaries in a healthy way, your clients can know and respect your time as well as your time off. So if you're going on vacation, you say that. You say, listen, I can't get you in this week. I'm on vacation this week. So the next appointment that I have is 2 weeks from now. So that's holding a healthy boundary. Another example of a boundary might be a response time or some other aspect or facet of customer service. So when you're holding a healthy boundary, clients become accustomed to a reasonable response time. I always strive for a 24-hour business response time. So if someone reaches out to me via email or by a text, I create a healthy boundary, letting them know that I will respond within 24 hours. That feels like that's a reasonable boundary for me. Some people have the ability, or perhaps have a more urgent business, that's too long of a window. And that's where we get to create those parameters that we are clear with our clients with. So understanding normal parameters for customer service. What about an example of a boundary with family dinner? What if it's really important for your family to sit down on a regular basis to have dinner with the ones that you love? Because this is about finding that teeter-totter between self-care and family time and creating a successful business. So when you have created a successful and healthy boundary, your family knows that they're important and that you value your time together. And that is really crucial to making sure that you are not only holding your boundaries for your business, but also for your personal time. And then there is your personal time. So if every moment that you have is dedicated to somebody else, whether it's a client appointment or whether it is doing something for your kids or for your partner, that's going to burn you out. So feeling rejuvenated helps you be able to better serve your clients and family. So these are some consequences of holding boundaries in a healthy way. So if we're looking at those same examples of boundaries, what would it look like if we weren't keeping those healthy boundaries? So if we said, well, you know what, my hours of business are 9:30 to 6 Monday through Friday, but you know what, I'll go ahead and come in for you on this Saturday. Then clients might always want those exceptions. And now you're missing days off, you're overextending yourself, and perhaps as far as a response time, maybe now you're feeling obligated to have your phone with you all the time so that if someone texts or emails that you're instantly on that. It's okay for clients to wait as long as they understand what that boundary is. Again, response times with customer service. If you are making yourself crazy to perhaps finish a project that you know is going to take you 3 days of time, and you say, you know what, I think it'll take me 3, but I'll get it to you in 2. You know that that's going to keep you up later. That's going to be extending the time that it takes you to work on this project. And frankly, it may drop the quality of the project that you're presenting. So you don't want to become frazzled trying to meet these unattainable goals. And then clients believe what you say. So if you say, I'm going to get this project to you in 3 days, darn tootin', you better get it to them in 3 days. But if you create an unreasonable expectation, that's not holding the boundary for you in a healthy way. What about if you say, yep, honey, I'm going to see you for family dinner on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Every week, that's what we're going to do. And every Monday comes, and every Wednesday comes, and every Friday comes, and you are not at that dinner. What does that feel like? Now your family isn't going to trust those words because you're not holding that language in an honorable way. And then if you are not keeping those boundaries in a healthy way for your personal time, burn out. If you are not giving yourself those moments to rejuvenate and to refresh yourself, then you're no good to anybody. You're no good to your clients, you're no good to your family, you're no good to yourself. So I'd like to maybe open the floor up for some people to give some examples of boundaries and how those boundaries have changed since COVID. So I'm just gonna stop my share here and bring everybody back up. Hopefully everybody can see, we're like the Brady Bunch here. We've got 9 big boxes. So Bob, do you have an example of how COVID has perhaps changed your boundaries a little bit?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it the other day where I have an office in West Hartford, and I am not an owner of the agency. I'm an insurance agent, if you don't know me, but an independent agent. And I always wanted to set more up at home, to work at home, but I never had the time to do it because I knew it would take a while to get everything going here. And, you know, I'm too busy trying to keep up doing other things that I didn't have boundaries on. So when COVID first hit and it was like, well, you got to stay home for 2 weeks. We're closing the office for a couple of weeks. So I brought some stuff home. And the next thing was, well, it's going to be till the end of the month. So brought some more things home. And as it extended, finally, I got everything home. And I set up in my dining room, and I was working in there, and it was kind of a mess, boxes of things and all that. And we're fortunate we had like an in-law apartment where my mother-in-law lived with us. And so I set up out there. But bottom line, and how that affected me was I now work at home, and it's permanent, and I love it. And the thing is that I find myself working at all different times, and I don't mind that because I'm fortunate. I love what I do. So I can be sitting, here and returning emails at 11 o'clock at night. But 11 o'clock in the morning when people are working, I might be doing something personal. So it's like I look at my day as just continuous, from when I get up to when I go to bed. But
and that's such a great point, Bob. And I think on one of the slides upcoming, you'll see how you've created boundaries that work for yourself, whereas someone else might have a very rigid set of business hours. For you, that's not necessarily a boundary that you need. Maybe you enjoy having a little bit more flexibility. And so during COVID, your work schedule has changed. So yeah, thank you for that example.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, it's like, I like to be easily accessible, so that if somebody needs me, I say, just call me when you want to. It doesn't matter. I've always got my phone. I like helping people. It's one of those things. And whenever it is. So I find myself doing work on Saturday, Sunday, whenever. And, but I'm all good with that because I certainly get my share of free time, but I also want to keep up with my customer service. So, it may be one of those things where it might stress some people out, but it doesn't stress me out,
Exactly. And
I'm a very lucky man.
Well, I think, I'm going to go back to sharing the screen again. I think that during COVID, we've all had to make some shifts and changes with what those boundaries look like. And perhaps, business hours might be one of those. And so thanks for sharing that example, Bob. So let me see, there we go. So I just wanted to move into our time management piece here. So Carl Sandburg said, time is the coin of your life. It's the only coin you have, and only you can determine how it will be spent. So be careful lest you let other people spend it for you. So with time management, know thyself. So this was something that was really important and also ties back into Bob's point about what people are comfortable with. So when you're looking at managing your day-to-day, whether it's family time or business time, know what is best for you. So people have different parts of their day that they feel their peak energy in. My husband is an early bird. He naturally rises very early, no alarm clock necessary. So he is a morning guy. I get my burst of energy more at night. I'm someone who would rather have more compact or full days in order for me to take a full day off, because that's my preference. But there's some people who prefer to have one or two things each day, but have those every single day. And so really thinking about how your time is managed with yourself is one of the things that I thought was really important to talk about with time management. Here's my big, this is not a big secret, but this is one of the things that I feel like has changed my life. That sounds extraordinary, but it is. I hate to-do lists. I don't like them. I think they are, I think they're discouraging. I think that they are not helpful. But we all have things that have to get done. So how do we come to terms with that? So this is what I have figured out, what works really well for me, and perhaps it might work well for you. So instead of putting items onto a list of things to do, a big general list, what I do is I determine how much time each task takes and I put it on the calendar. I actually schedule it. So I pull my calendar out and I say, okay, I need to go grocery shopping because we need to eat. And I know that that takes me about an hour. So I look at my calendar and I say, what block of time can I put this hour in? It doesn't go on to a never ending running list that includes going to the grocery store. So the key pieces for me are be realistic with how much time each task will take. I've been going to the grocery store for years and years and years, so I know exactly how much time it takes me to drive there. I've already got my grocery list ready. Even if there's a little bit of a line, I know how much time it'll take for traffic to get through the store, to get back and get everything put away. I can do it in an hour. So that for me becomes a piece that goes onto my calendar. The other thing that is really important, and it goes back to where I said, know thyself, is I invite people to tackle more difficult projects when you feel most fresh. So I don't know what that means for you all. I know what it means for me. I am not a get up first thing in the morning and tackle something difficult kind of gal. It's just not my freshest time. I like to tackle something a little bit around lunchtime, or probably around 8 or sometimes 9 o'clock at night. If I have a project that needs my full thought or attention, then I know that that's when I need to look at my calendar and find and schedule that time. So for me, time management, again, is identifying how much time I need and to tackle those projects as they come up. So moving on to the power of no. And I think I just saw Bobby pop onto the call. So thanks, Bobby. And when I was asking people what topics they thought would be helpful, the power of no came up. And just by perhaps a show of hands or maybe a quick something into the chat box, how many people have said yes to something and immediately felt, ugh? Maybe it was a heaviness, maybe it was something like regret, maybe it was something that just felt like, wow, that just doesn't feel good. And so what I offer you is to listen to your instincts. We've all had those moments of thinking, I know I shouldn't say yes to this. I know I know that I'm overextended. I know I've got too much on my plate, but somehow the word yes just flew out of my mouth. That's not really what I meant to say. So make sure that you're listening to what your instincts say. And one of the ways that you can perhaps encourage yourself to be able to create this power of no is think about what you gain. So by saying no, what do you gain? What happens when you do say no? So you're gonna gain time, and whether that time is for yourself or whether it's for your family or whether it's to work on your business, then that's something that is helped by when you say no. Sanity, peace, joy, letting go of that feeling in your gut that says, oh gosh, I just said yes to something that I know I'm not going to do my best work at, or I'm not going to get it completed on time. Or that means now I'm not going to be able to spend some time with my daughter putting them to bed because I have to do something else. Now, we can't perhaps have every single bedtime together, but you need to make sure, again, going back to those boundaries, that you're creating those moments that make sense for you and your family. And by saying no, you're also enabling yourself to focus on what's already on your plate. We are all pulled in many directions, whether it's multiple businesses or family restraints. And so you just need to make sure that when you say no to something else, that's saving the space for what you're finding to be most important. So I wrote down some really specific examples of perhaps some scenarios that you might find yourself in. So someone has approached you to complete a project Thank you so much for thinking of me, but after considering my availability, I don't think I'm going to have enough time to complete it in the way that it deserves. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's creating a boundary, it's using concise language, it's making sure that both parties understand that, and it's allowing you to say, thank you, I'm honored for the ask, but I just can't put one more thing on my plate. The second example there is an invitation to a particular event. Again, thank you so much. Showing gratitude is really helpful. It sounds like a blast, but I'm not able to make it. Please keep me on the list for a future event if you want that. And then lastly, this might be something very appropriate, a conversation that you are having with your family, maybe even for Thanksgiving or for Christmas, that we've decided to spend the holidays at home this year instead of traveling. We will miss you all, but we're looking forward to getting together another time. So again, these are very specific examples of how you can say no and do it in a way that makes sense. The other piece that I want you to sort of look at all of these examples is, I did not explain why. I didn't ration. I didn't give a laundry list of reasons. I was clear. I was concise. I was respectful. But those are the pieces that you don't owe an explanation to anybody. You can say these things with the confidence that you need to say no, thank you, and then move on. If someone presses you, I guess that maybe I've been pressed. Oh, why? You can't come for the holidays? Oh, why not? Well, we've talked, Josh and I have talked it over, and this year we're just not doing holidays on the road. And so we are really going to miss you, but this is the decision that we've made, period. End of story. And I think people get caught up in the challenge sometimes of saying no, especially, well, certainly to a client, but I find it is harder to say no to family because we love them. We have a different set of relationships with our family than we do with our clients. And we don't want to disappoint people. We don't want to create a scenario that may have a little bit of, maybe conflict is an overstatement, but a little bit of a challenge perhaps. But being confident with the language that you have and with the decision that you've made and really holding to those boundaries is a healthy way to make sure that you're saying no. So by saying no, this allows us to have more time for self-care. And this is the final piece that we're going to talk about tonight. Self-care is a really huge topic that I could probably talk a whole nother hour on. But what I kept coming back to was that self-care looks really different for everybody. It certainly doesn't look the same for myself than it does for others. So maybe someone's self-care is going to a concert. They like a lot of activity, or maybe someone's self-care is something a little bit more quiet, a little bit more reserved. Are you the kind of person who, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, those personalities need to refill their buckets? So someone who's an extrovert may like big events and it being social with people, but sometimes they even need to step back and take a moment for themselves. Or someone maybe who is a little bit more quiet finds some joy in having a small gathering of some close friends. And then self-care is not just physical, but it's also mental. So it gives you some options for what that might look like. So again, I've provided some really specific examples of some self-care options that you have. So you can see that there are some physical examples, there's some mental examples, a 10-minute meditation, that can be just sitting and being quiet, or it could be a guided meditation. There's a ton of apps that are available on your phone or on your computer that you can just download a 10-minute meditation, and that could be really helpful for you. Taking a walk outside. Nature is incredibly healing. And so self-care, I always encourage people to find the environment. And so hopefully that is something that you've been incorporating now. reading a magazine or a book when maybe that's not something that is on your radar because of other obligations. It could be getting a massage. We've got a lot of massage therapists on this call, so feel free to reach out to any of us if that looks like the good fit. It could be a vacation, and that doesn't mean, going to the Bahamas. Maybe that means hunkering down, putting a fire in the fireplace, turning all of your electronics off, and just having a night at home. Another example that I really like is making or eating a really nourishing meal. It could be even a treat meal, like a ice cream sundae or something along those lines. It could be a whole tray of delicious roasted veggies. Taking a nap, doesn't that sound amazing? Taking a nap sounds really good. And then I'm always a proponent of exercise. That combines both the physical and the mental aspect of a centering, if you will. And so I really find that that's important for self-care. Just like everything else, if you say, oh yeah, I'll get to it, it'll happen, it doesn't happen. You need to put self-care on your books, on your calendar, just like any other appointment. And you need to honor those boundaries and keep those self-care appointments on your schedule. Again, it's not the to-do list, it's put it onto the calendar. So you're going to honor your way in the same way that you would honor a client or a family member. So the last part here is, we've talked about a bunch of stuff. Nobody's perfect. We're all works in progress. These are topics that took me a long time to really consider and to put into play into my life. And I can tell you that one of the changes for me in COVID with my boundaries is that I started to let my self-care go a little bit. Because I had had so much time off when we were mandated to be closed, I thought, well, that was that whole time off. So now I have to rush and get all my clients in now. And so I really was pushing my physical and mental and emotional and energetic limits. And I was starting to see some changes in how perhaps I was speaking to people or how I was talking to myself. And I said, that's not what I'm doing. I practice what I preach. I walk what I talk. And so I started making appointments for myself for self-care. I started making sure that I wasn't abandoning my family life, whether that was calling my mom because she doesn't live locally and making sure that I was keeping up with that relationship, or making sure that I was scheduling family dinner with my husband, and making sure that I was holding those boundaries for myself as well as others. So that was sort of the gist of what I had to talk about tonight. I'm sure that there are a lot of questions or comments. I had the slides up, so I see a couple in the chat here. Or Pete, what do you got?
Well, first off, this was very good. And every one of your 4 different topics I thought were so interrelated and make so much sense to every one of us. And one of the things that you talked about, from boundaries to scheduling to scheduling self-care and such, which I call me time. And
Sure.
This me time is really important. But one of the things that you referenced it just at the end was, turning off technology. This thing here is really like our best friend and our worst enemy at the same time.
Totally.
And how many of us have taken a weekend and shut off the phone? How many have gone on vacation and not answered a single email till you get back? When you do stuff like that, it really freshens you up. And, yes, we need this for emergency and such, but I mean, go a few nights without reading your email. So Kaylin, you've hit on so many points, and as I get older, I've learned a lot of this stuff, that you have to take that time for yourself and that you have to set those limits. So I would just, when you went about talking about the technology, turning it off, I do think that can be extremely helpful. Great job.
Thanks. part of what, so turning off technology, I think, is really important, and letting people know that that's what you're doing. I think that in my mind, that's what allows me to be able to do that and not feel like I'm abandoning people. So if I'm going on vacation or if I'm taking a total weekend off, I'll put an out of office message on my voicemail, or I'll put a vacation reminder on my email so that people understand, oh, okay, Kaylin's usually pretty good about getting back to me. What's going on here? Oh, okay, I just got her out of office message saying she's on vacation, or sometimes I don't even say on vacation. I'll just say, all emails and voicemails will be returned on this date, because frankly, it's not really anybody's business if I'm on vacation or not. Again, it goes back to, and this is part of what has taken me a long time to do, is I don't really have to explain myself. If my expectation is that I'm not going to be answering voicemails on the weekends, then that's just what it is. And certainly not all businesses run in that way, or not all families run in that way. So it's really important to take those moments and understand what your boundaries are, what your parameters are, because until you've established those, then you're no good for yourself, you're no good for your family, you're no good for your clients.
Kaylin, the 2 cents I'll throw in is back to the boundaries thing of, what I found too is that from a client standpoint, my best clients respect my boundaries. My worst clients are the ones who don't respect your boundaries. They are the ones who, like you said, it's one of those things, like once they push a boundary, it's usually never just once, because you'll forgive that, if it's a great client and they need something, it's a high priority, that's okay. That happens. But it's those people who are always like pushing the boundaries, saying, hey, can I get this? Or contacting you all the time. That's the big red flag. Like that doesn't stop. And those, like I said, those are generally some of the worst clients that, when I'm done with those projects, I'm like, okay, we're finished. We're not going to do it again. So. And
then how do you feel when you see that caller ID come up with that client's number on it? You're like, oh God, that person again, because they're going to want me to come in on my day off, or they're going to want me to come in earlier than I usually take clients. And then then that line is never drawn. So yeah, great point, Ray. Our least favorite clients.
How about just throw this out there for other folks too, from a time management standpoint? What do other folks do in terms of to-do lists or tracking? How do other folks manage your list? Do other people do like what Kaylin was doing of scheduling things on calendars?
I just like to write down a few things that I want to not forget to do on a certain day. I mean, it's like a to-do list, but the major things, so I don't get caught up in this and forget to do that. So I can look back and say, oh, I did everything, that had to be done today.
I have a
but I like the scheduling it in, because that's very important. So you've not only got a to-do list, but you have a to-do at a certain time list.
Mm-hmm.
I have a to-do list, and a lot of times I put everything on my schedule as well, but I like your idea, Kaylin. Instead of like having one to-do list, just spreading it around, throughout the week, or, I'll do this one today, I'll do that one tomorrow, or you schedule the time that you need to do each one. So I like the idea. I might start using it instead of having one to-do list. One long list that you get to the first two and it's like,
it never ends.
Well, and to your point, Christina, what I was finding when I was making those to-do lists is that we all have that one task that we either hate doing, or it just is like really energetically difficult or whatever. Does that ever get done? No, it just keeps getting pushed to the bottom of a list. So for me, I would recognize what that was and I would tackle it at my prime time. So, if you're someone who needs quiet, maybe that's when the kids are at school, or, those moments when you really are able to focus on it so that you can get that accomplished.
I find I have a to-do list, things that need to be done, but then I also have a want to-do list. like reach out to people and say, oh, I need to call Christina today, or, I'd love to talk to Kaylin or Peter or somebody. And a lot of times you don't get to do those things. So you get a little disappointed that, my list is getting long of people that I want to reach out to, but I'm not getting to do all those. So, but.
Jen had a comment. I'm going to pick on you, Jen, in the chat window about the 2 minutes or less rule. Can you explain that to folks?
I've been popping. Yeah, I've been popping in and out because I've been doing dinner. Okay. So
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So I learned the 2 minute rule, and I can't say that I'm perfect at it by any means, but when I get frazzled and my list is getting long, the 2 minute or less rule is if you can get it done in less than 2 minutes, stop procrastinating and just do it, because it just adds and makes your list even longer. So if it's one of those like easy, quick tasks that pops into your brain, you're like, I'll just get it done later. It's only gonna take me a few minutes. Just do it. Just get it out of the way.
Good point.
Yeah.
I do like the visualization though of to-do lists, although I don't actually necessarily put every task on it because it would just always be way too long and discouraging, like you were talking about. But I do find when I have so much that's upcoming, for me, when I can make a to-do list and have the visualization of crossing things off of it, it's encouraging me to keep going, and I'm almost done. And then at the end, there's this sense of accomplishment. So, but I do like the calendar way as well. It just depends on, I think, what task I'm looking to do.
Yeah, I'm the same way, Kristen. I do love that feeling of accomplishment, but I can't remember who said it earlier. When you have that laundry list, you get through 1 or 2 items and you're like, okay, well, I'm tired and I'm not gonna be able to finish any of these apparently. So I have found that recently one thing that's been helpful is to, first of all, take some time on a Sunday, for us it's a Sunday, but to look at the week and say like, what does this week hold? And then where can I spread it out? And that helps my Monday be a lot more enjoyable, because before it was like, okay, all the to-do items are going to fall on the next day, which is Monday. And so then Mondays are already Mondays. And now there's this laundry list of things to do. Instead of saying, okay, here's my day Monday, I can get 1 or 2 of these things done. Here's my day Tuesday. And by the end of the week, hopefully the idea is that you are far more accomplished than if you had piled all those things into one list, and not actually been able to tackle any of that on Monday because you're just too depressed that it was a Monday.
And things always come up on Mondays, right? It's like, that's when you come in and something happened in the parking lot, or I don't know,
Yeah.
Fill in the blank, the internet is out, or whatever that looks like.
Yes, that was actually today.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Sorry for that example then.
How'd you?
Yeah. Yes, I absolutely agree with the sense of accomplishment. There is something about an entire list of all crossed off. But for me, again, I was finding that was not the right fit. But again, these are examples that I've found that have worked for me. So as with any education, take what nuggets feel like they resonate with you. Some of this may have been old hat to you, and it was a great reminder. Some of this may be new information. So hopefully everybody got a little bit of something out. And what other kinds of questions or suggestions or thoughts do people have? We're coming up right at 8 o'clock here. So I just want to be mindful of people's time as well.
I think you did a great job, Kaylin.
Thanks, Bob. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Did I see Michelle's hand? What?
She gave a thumbs up too. Oh, she might have knocked herself out.
I'm here. No, I agree. It's exactly what I want to hear. And the whole time I'm like, yeah, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. So thank you, Kaylin.
You're welcome, Michelle.
So I'm going to write it on my to-do list and do it tomorrow.
Your calendar, you mean? Your to-do. Well, if folks do have other questions afterwards, Kaylin, can they reach out to you through Facebook and other means?
Yep, absolutely. So
between 9:30 and 6.
Right. Boundaries.
That's right. Expect a 24-hour turnaround time. So those are all, that's all my contact information there for those who are looking. Probably that is my business cell. So you're welcome to text me, and our website is there as well.
Like I said, we'll have a
I am
recording.
on Facebook. So
Yep. And we'll have a recording that's available too. Like I said, if you want to revisit this, there's a lot of good tips in here. Or if you want to pass it along to someone else, like I said, we're all small business owners, probably know other people who are in small business as well. And if they couldn't make it today because they're not following this advice, you can send them a link to this recording and share it with them. So, Kaylin, thank you so much for the presentation. A lot of great wisdom in there. And thanks everyone for joining too. And we're always looking for suggestions for topics. So you can reach out to any of us at the Chamber. We're pretty active on Facebook as well. So hope you enjoyed this, and we look forward to seeing you at our next business seminar.
Thank you, Kaylin. Thank you, Ray.
thanks so much,
Thank you
everybody.
so much, Kaylin.
Thanks everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye.